Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is SUKKAH Membeis. We're on the last line of Daf Mem Aleph. Rabbi Yossi Omer Yom Tov. We go back to the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi spoke about this fellow who inadvertently carried his lulav out into the street on Shabbos. He was overcome by excitement and anticipation of the upcoming mitzvah. Says Rabbi Yossi, you're meant to know this fellow is patur from bringing a korban because he was busy doing a mitzvah. Rashi says he was torrid, machashev, v'asik, umemahir. He's totally overcome by excitement, overwhelmed by the upcoming mitzvah. And this preoccupation exempts him from a korban. Some Mefarshim learn. We consider him to be misasik, preoccupied with another activity, and in that case, he's patur from a korban as a result of this malacha. Says the Gemara on the last line, Amar Abaye, says Abaye, you're meant to know that we have to follow very specific guidelines here. When we say that he's patur from a korban, that's only if he had not yet been yotzei his mitzvahs lulav. So he's still pre-kiyum mitzvahs lulav. Then we say his tirda, this preoccupation with the upcoming mitzvah, exempts him from a korban. Aval yotzaboy. But suppose he was already yotzei the mitzvah. He did mitzvahs lulav and then he carries it through the street, chayav. Then he has to bring a korban chatas. Says Rashi on the top line. This only applies if he had not yet fulfilled the mitzvah lulav before taking it into the street. The mitzvah. So now he's preoccupied with the upcoming mitzvah. Mitzvah, we consider it to be a mistake associated with a mitzvah. In which case, he does not have to bring a korban. But if he was already yotzei the mitzvah, he fulfilled the mitzvahs netilas lulav before taking it to the street. He's no longer considered a toya b'dvar mitzvah. He's post mitzvah. He's not preoccupied with the upcoming mitzvah. He can't blame the malacha on the mitzvah. He's past the mitzvah. So if he's before the mitzvah, he's misasik with the upcoming mitzvah. He's like an oinus. He's not really held responsible because it's the mitzvah which generated that excitement and overwhelmed him, distracted him, preoccupied him. In which case, that was the cause of his malacha, and we don't hold him responsible. But if he has already been mekayim that mitzvah, this halacha does not apply. Says the Gemara on the second line from the top. If that's the case, then how could Rav Yossi's halacha be relevant? You tell me a fellow picks up his lulav, takes it out into the street. He's patur from chatas because it was in anticipation of the upcoming mitzvah. Says the Gemara, but once he picks up the lulav, he's already yotzei. As soon as one picks up a lulav, he takes it to him, he's yotzei, without shaking, without waving. So that's it, he's done. Now when he takes him to the street, it's already after the mitzvah. And he should be chayv chatas for doing a malacha. Apparently the Mishnah is speaking where he picked up the lulav upside down, in which case he's not yotzei, because the Gemara later will tell us only yotzei derech kedei losan, the way it naturally grows. So if he holds it vertically, way up, head up and bottom down, then he's yotzei. But if he turns it upside down, he's not going to be yotzei the mitzvah. And that's what we're speaking about. He lifted the lulav upside down. He didn't want to be yotzei yet. He first wanted to take it to an expert, a rav, to show him how to teach him a bracha, to show him how to shake. And by doing so, he carried it through the street. On the way to the rav, and we say he's told b'dvar mitzvah and he's patur. Rava Amar, afilu tema shelo yhavcha. It could be speaking even if he was holding it upright and properly. So why was he not yotzei? Hachab ma'askin, we're speaking about higon sheyotzi b'kli, when he carried it out into the street in a kli, in a bowl. In which case, he's not yotzei at that point. So it's still before the mitzvah, and therefore we consider Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah and his Pater. Says the Gemara, why isn't he not Yotzei in this manner? V'Rav the Amar, didn't Rav himself tell us earlier on Daf Lamed Zayin? L'kicha al yedei dava'acha shma l'kicha, taking hold of the lulav by means of a means, by using something as a handle, by using a medium. That's also a proper l'kicha. That's a lukachta nochem, and he's yaitze even in a kli. Hani mila derech kavod. That's only when he did it in a respectful way. Rashi says, for instance, he had a glove around his hand. It was derech kavod. Aval derech bezoyin lay. But if it's in a disrespectful way, in a degrading manner, Rashi says, kugan b'ka'ara. He put the lulav in a bowl and carried the bowl with the lulav in it. Why? That's not called a proper l'kicha. So that's what we're talking about here. He carried the lulav by means of a medium, kli, not derech kavod. That creates that barrier. It's not a proper direct l'kicha. He's not yaitze at this point. If he carried it through the street, he did a melacha before kiyum mitzvah. It's considered a melacha resulting from mitzvah preoccupation and your pater. Amar Rav Huna, Oymar Hoy Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi applied his halacha in the following case as well. Oyla so'ef shenimtzis ben agapayim. If a kohen notices a bird between the agapayim, the other birds, Rashi says this is going to be on the Ma'ar of Dorim corner of the Mizbeach. So he looks down on the floor and he finds birds which were karbanos, which malika was done to them already, and they're awaiting achila by the kohen because the chatas ha'oif is meant to be eaten by a kohen. So he sees a bird there amongst the others. Oyla sa'oif happens to be an oyla sa'oif, not a chatas sa'oif. Now, an oyla sa'oif is not meant to be eaten by a kohen. It's meant to be completely burnt on the mizbeach. Well, this kohen didn't realize. So there was an oyla sa'oif which he found. Shenimtzis ben agapayim because savar chatas ha'oifi. He thought it was a chatas ha'oif. He made a mistake. He mistook the oyla for a chatas. Va'achla. He sat down and he ate it. Pater. He's pater for bringing a korban me'ilah. Why? He was trying to do a mitzvah. He didn't realize this was an oyla, not meant to be eaten. He thought it was a chatas. He was being mekayim a great mitzvah. He said, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu halachita achilas chatas. He thought it was a chatas meant to be consumed by the kohen. That's a mitzvah. Pasuk says, V'achlu oyla oisam asher kupar bahem. The korbanos are meant to be eaten by the kohanim. That completes the kapara of that korban. So his intention was to do a mitzvah. He was a toya b'dvar mitzvah, and therefore he's potter from korban milah. Ma'ika Marshman, what's the chiddush of Rav Huna? The toya b'dvar mitzvah potter? That if a mistake occurs as a result of a mitzvah, he's potter. Hainu hach, that's the very same case of our Mishnah. What's the additional chiddush here? It's just like the case of the lulav being carried through the street. Perhaps I would think to say that there is a difference. Hasam in the case of the lulav, who did toh b'dvar mitzvah potter. You know why he was toh b'dvar mitzvah potter? That's because hainu the avad mitzvah, because he actually did a mitzvah. Right? Remember we were speaking before he was mekayim the mitzvah lulav. So eventually, this whole process of carrying it through the street led him to the mitzvah. It resulted in a kiyum mitzvah. So perhaps over there we would say that a toos b'dvar mitzvah is potter from korban. Avalach, as opposed to our case where he ate a oyla sa'oif, the toos b'dvar mitzvah, although in his mind he was trying to do a mitzvah. So it was a toos associated with a mitzvah. But what happened at the end of the day? He didn't actually do a mitzvah, he ate an oyla. Perhaps I won't apply this klal. I'll say, well, the result is what counts. You haven't done a mitzvah. You did me'ilah, you ate an oyla. You chayiv a korban me'ilah. Kamash malan. That's Rav Huna's chiddush. Rabbi Yosi's halacha applies even in this case. So far we have two cases. First was by the lulav. He was preoccupied with the upcoming mitzvah, and he actually ended up doing a mitzvah's lulav. He's potter from korban. He was preoccupied with the mitzvah of achilas kachim, but he actually didn't do a mitzvah by eating the oyla. He's still potter. Now comes the third case. Meisvei, we have a kasha on this. Rabbi Yosi Omer, Rabbi Yosi himself, says like this: If They used to set aside karbanos, animals which they would examine 4 days before hakrava. So, for instance, when it comes to karban tamid, they had behemoths checked through, examined to ensure it's free from any mum, and this began 4 days before the karban will be brought in the mizbeach. This fellow was shechet es hatamid she'enim avoka kil chasa, which was not properly examined beforehand. That's possible. When did this happen? When did he do the shechita? B'Shabbos. Chayav chatas. He has to bring a chatas because he did a malacha. V'tzorach tamid acher. You have to bring another tamid as a replacement. He was not yaitse. Now, even if it turns out this behema is free of any blemishes, this karban is possible. Tosfos brings, we learned the halacha of bikur daled yomim koydem shechita from Exer Shava, from karban Pesach. It's an absolute halacha. Without it, the karban is puzzle. Some Mefarshim explain, I think it's the Meiri, he says sometimes you can't really tell. After shechita, some slight blemishes can disappear on you. So you can't really determine post-shechita whether this animal had a mum before shechita. In any case, we say it's puzzle. He did a malacha on Shabbos. If it would have been a karban kosher, it's accepted. That's acceptable. It's not a malacha. It's avoida, which is allowed on Shabbos. But if it turns out that it was puzzle, he did a straight out malacha. And he's chayv achatas. What do you mean? He was tabed var mitzvah. He was trying to fulfill a mitzvah of akravas a karban here. And this is Rabbi Yossi himself speaking. Why is he chayav chatas? Why don't we consider it tabed var mitzvah? Just like the lulav carried in the street, just like the kohen eating the oilas oif. This is a kasha on Rav Huna. Rav Huna tells us that even in the case where he didn't actually do a mitzvah, such as in the case where he ate the oilas oif by mistake, he's still pata from karban. So why is this case of the karban tabed different? Amalei, he responded, bar minam de'ahi. You can't compare that one to our case. Though itmar Allah, we learned a pshat on that brisa. Omar Rav Shmuel bar Chatoi, Omar Rav Hamnuna Saba, Omar Rav Yitzchak bar Ashin, Omar Rav Huna Rav. Kegoin, she'evia milishka she'enan mevakarin. You know what that brisa is speaking about? Where did he find this karban? He brought it from a lishka she'enan mevakarin, from that chamber which did not have checked karbanis. They were unchecked, unexamined, plain animals. He has no business taking animals from there. That's not called Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. Let's take a look at Rashi. So it's going to be the first of the middle wide lines. So this fellow shechted a karban which was not examined in advance. He's chayv achatas. Why, says Rashi? Mishum shechita b'Shabbos she'ein shel mitzvah. He did a malach. He shechted an animal without doing a mitzvah. It doesn't override Shabbos. Oh, Alma, says Rashi, apparently we learn from here Tobed var mitzvah le'asa mitzvah chayiv. Even though this fellow was preoccupied with the upcoming mitzvah of Shechitas HaTamid, but since he didn't actually do a mitzvah, it's the results that counts. If he didn't do a mitzvah, if it didn't result in a mitzvah, he's chayv a karban. Shari Torah Zeb mitzvah. This fellow was Torah with the upcoming mitzvah. Shari writes Elishcha Tamid Shal Shabbos. He wanted to bring the karban. He thought it was examined. He thought it was kosher. He thought it was checked in advance. So why is he chayv achatas? Why is it different than the kohen who figured he was eating a chatas oif, who ended up eating a oilas oif, where we say he's potter because of his good intentions? This fellow had good intentions. Continues Rashi Lachshem Lagarsina. Milishka she'enim v'karin. The answer is here it was different. Where did he find this animal? He took it from the room which was filled with animals which are not checked. They weren't prepared for karban. There ain't a Torah b'dvar mitzvah. He's not considered a Torah b'dvar mitzvah. Shebetloim shebelishka zu ein Torah. Oh, so Rashi will explain this on two fronts. Number one, the actual behemoth was not a candidate, was not a carbon candidate. He wasn't busy with these tlaim, he wasn't getting ready to tend to these animals. They're not potential karbanis at this point. He's not busy, he's not preoccupied, he's not overwhelmed, he's not preparing to take care of them. They're not potential karbanis. So that's an account of the item itself. It's not a potential carbon as opposed to the lulav, which is meant to be used for a mitzvah. As opposed to the birds near the mizbeach, where the vast majority were chatais. So the item itself lends to the mitzvah. Here, the item itself is not a mitzvah candidate. Unchecked animals have no association to mitzvah. That's number one. Well, you'll say, I understand, but he was preoccupied with a mitzvah. He was preparing himself to do a mitzvah. What about that? He was trying to bring a carbon tamid. Why isn't that enough to consider him a tob dvar mitzvah? Says Rashi. I'll address that too. You can excuse him on account of the fact that now it's the zman to bring the carbon tamid. That's what he's trying to do. Says Rashi, you know what? It's closer to negligence. He wasn't paying attention to go to the right lishka, to the right chamber to bring the right carbon. So it's more his fault than not. So of course we're not considering him amazed. All he's going to do is bring a carbon chatas. It is a shegi, but it's tipping towards mazid rather than towards oines. He's not really a tabed var mitzvah, which is pot. So bottom line is we have three examples of tabed var mitzvah. Let's go down the line. We start with the lulav. That's the best. He was busy preparing for the mitzvah lulav, and his efforts actually bore fruit. He did a mitzvah eventually. It was a tabed var mitzvah, also mitzvah. He's part of carbon. Next case. He picked up a bird thinking it was a chatas and ate it. He was trying to do a mitzvah. He was tabed var mitzvah. Even though he didn't actually do a mitzvah, he's potter as well. We have a third case where none of these concepts apply. He took an animal which was not checked and used it for a carbon. Rashi says, Ein ze tabed var mitzvah. We don't even consider him to be a tabed var mitzvah. You have no business taking these animals. And of course, he didn't actually do a mitzvah either. In this case, even Rabbi Yossi agrees, there's a chiyuv of carbon chatos. Continues the Mishnah. Mekabelis isha miad bna or miad bala. An isha can receive the lulav from the hand of her son, from her husband when they come back home from shul, and she can put it back into the water, even on Shabbos, to maintain its freshness. That's not a malacha, you're just maintaining its freshness. Rabbi Yehuda, we have different levels here. But Shabbos machzir. True, if it's on Shabbos, we don't allow more than just returning that thing into the water. So once it was in the water, and you're just returning it, it doesn't appear like you engaged in planting and growing. B'yom tov moisifin. On Yom Tov you could even add more water. You don't do that on Shabbos because of tircha, whatever. Here on Yom Tov we build more mekel without to add a little fresh water to the pre-existing water. U'b'moed machlifin on chayla moed. You meant to actually change the water to go ahead and replace it with fresh water. Let's go down to Rashi on the third very wide line. Masnisin mekabelas isha me'abnom bala. Es lulavein. She can actually hold on to take the actual lulav on Shabbos or Yom Tov. And what's the chiddush here? Don't think that she's actually moving around something which is not suitable. It's not a kli. It's just muktzah. No, there's no concern. The Gemara explained the reason for this. So that's the chiddush. Even the isha, who's not really chayvin mitzvah lulav, can consider the lulav as a non-mitzvah muktzah item, which allows her to handle it. Machzir l'mayim shlo yichmash. Put it back in the water so it doesn't wilt, doesn't dry up. Now Rabbi Yehuda says b'Shabbos machzir. you can put it back in the water. It says Rashi Shari Mekan Notlam Hayim, because it was taken out of the water today. Dafka in this case, when it was already in there on Shabbos, so taking it out and putting it back in doesn't appear like you're planting and you're growing. There's no concern, even with the Rabbanan. However, not meant to add more water. Koshkin certainly shem achlif and amayim. Not meant to exchange the water. Lishbechas elu, to remove these. V'lasachem tzoyin mehani, and bring fresher water. You don't do that. The Torah l'tkuni mana, because he's toiling to fix, to enhance. We don't want to do that on Shabbos. On Yom Tov, we do allow a bit more. You can add a little. But moed machlifin, b'chodesh moed mitzvah lahachliv. Go ahead, replace that water. Says the Gemara, we spoke about an Isha handling the lulav. What's the chiddush? Of course, pshita. Why would you think otherwise? If the man could shake a lulav, why can't the Isha hold it? Ma'od perhaps I would think, hoya Isha love bas chiyuvahi. An Isha is different. She's not chayiv in the mitzvah lulav. Emelei tekabel, perhaps she should not take it from her husband. It's muktzah. Kamash mon. The chiddush is no, she could, and the reason is because once it's considered a kli for the husband, then it's considered a kli for all. Some Farshim say, look, the Isha herself can actually be chayiv and lulav if she chooses to be mekayim the mitzvah. In any case, we don't consider it to be a muktzah item. Oh, actually, I forgot one line in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Katan, the last line, Katan hayadeh aneh chayiv v'lulav. A katan who has the ability, he knows how to shake the lulav back and forth to do the na'nuim, he's old enough to be chayiv in lulav. Okay, so let's go back to the Gemara here. Katan hayadeh aneh. Now the Gemara will tell us that the concept of chinuch, of course we're speaking only chinuch midrabanan. There's no chiv and ha'torah for a katan to do a mitzvah. It's all midrabanan. In order to train him into the mitzvah. This concept isn't really absolute. It's all relative to the ability of the katan at hand. Right? It's all ability related. And there isn't really one age, one specific age that applies to all children and that applies to all mitzvahs. It's all relative to the mitzvah at hand, what you're trying to do, and what it takes to do the mitzvah, and the specific abilities of this particular child. So the Mishnah, the Gemara will give us a long list of various types of mitzvahs and obligations, and we're going to see at what point do the Chacham require that the father begin training his son to do these things. Tana Rabban, Katan hayadeh aneh chayiv b'lulav. If the katan has the ability to actually shake the lulav properly, he's old enough to be chayiv in mitzvahs lulav, of course, midrabanan. Now, interesting, the Gemara mentions l'naneh because l'naneh is not really me'akiv. It's not critical to the key of mitzvah. We had a Gemara before which said once you pick it up, you hit it. Shaking it, waving it is not me'akiv. Still, it's pretty clear that unless that child knows how to do na'nuah, he's not yet chayiv even d'Rabbanan. And the Brisker Rav points this out, and he says apparently mitzvah's chinuch is a comprehensive thing. It's either all or nothing. If he has the ability to properly fulfill that mitzvah with all its facets, with all its aspects, including na'nuah, which is certainly part of the lulav procedure. We learn it, some say halacha meshem Sinai. So although it's not vital, it's not critical, you can be yated without it. But the chi of chinuch for the katan only begins when he has the ability to perform the mitzvah properly, with all its details. So that's why we say katan hayadeh l'naneh chayiv b'lulav. Some actually say naneh doesn't mean the enhanced nanuim as we had the other day, back and forth. Some do it 36 times. It means as long as he has the ability to wave it back and forth, that's enough. Liz atif, once he's old enough to wrap himself with a talis, chayiv b'tzitzis. You have to put tzitzis onto his beged. And Farshim say nowadays we generally don't wrap with our begadim. We just wear it straight. So the point of this atif here is a bit different, that the katan has the ability to wear his clothing properly, to have his tzitzis worn properly, two in the front, two strings in the back, which generally the minhag is to begin at 3 years old. That's old enough for chinuch of tzitzis. What about lishmar tefillin? He has the ability to properly preserve his tefillin, to wash them b'kedusha. Rashi says to refrain from bringing them to the Beis HaKisei, etc., to treat them with respect. At that point, Aviv lekeach le'tefillin. His father must purchase tefillin for him. Interesting that over here we have lashon lekeach, which we don't have by the tzitzis or by the lulav. And there it says because a child can take his father's lulav. Tzitzis is really isn't a chiyuv unless he has a beged that has 4 corners. By tefillin, he needs to have his pair of tefillin. Aviv lekeach le'tefillin. Now the minute today is to wait until bar mitzvah or close to bar mitzvah, when you assume that he already has the ability to properly look after his tefillin. He has he feels his responsibilities of adulthood coming on him. So at that point, we start with tefillin. Yedei l'daber. As soon as the child knows how to speak, Aviv le'im the Torah, his father begins to teach him Torah v'kriyishma. Torah mai. What do we mean by Torah? The whole Shas? No, says the Gemara. We give him something. Omar Rav Nuna, Torah tzivalona Moshe, Moirasha Kilas Yaakov. We teach him how special he is, how privileged he is to have the Torah which was bequeathed to us by Hashem. That's his introduction. It generates enthusiasm in his heart for his eventual immersion in Torah. Krishma mai. When we say we teach him Krishma, as soon as he begins to speak, what does that mean? The whole Krishma? He can't really handle that much. The answer is Pasuk Rishon. As we do today, we teach every kid Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Even toddlers know that Pasuk. Hayidei lishmar gufay. Now, once he knows how to be careful from Tumah v'Tahara, he keeps his guf clear of Tumah. Oichlin al gufay Taharis. Then you can be sure that even if if an item touched his guf, it's Tahar. Lishmar Siyadav. This is a step higher. You know that he washes his hands. He's careful not to touch anything problematic. Even a sefer, a scroll, which the Chachamim consider to be metame seyadayim. So there's certain halachis, certain things which are metame one's hands. If he's careful even from those things, oichlon al yad of taharis, then you know that even taharis, foods and things that touched his hands are tahar. Ideally, shoyl. If his child is old enough to discern, he can respond to a query. Did you become tummy or not? He knows. He can be asked and will respond with clarity. So once he gets to that point, the following halacha applies. Let's say he encounters a suffix. He doesn't know whether or not he touched something. The Gemara learns from Soita, it all depends where it happened. If it happened in a hidden place, b'shus hayachid, sveikei tummy. We say that even though it was uncertain tumah, it's tummy. But that's only because he's the yedei shayil. The child who is involved with this suffix tumah is old enough to be queried and to respond. That's the halacha we learn from Soita. It depends on that. But if he's not yet old enough to have that ability to be yedei shoyl, we can't really ask him and get a clear answer. Then we say even if the suffix occurred in Rishus HaYachid, it's presumed to be tar. And of course, Rishus HaRabim is fake a tar. That's always whenever we have a suffix in Rishus HaRabim regarding tumah, we assume that it's tar. Hayedei for his kapav. If the child is old enough to lift his hands up to do birchas koyanim, Rashi learns he's already a true gadol. Taisus disagrees, but Rashi learns this means that he's already a gadol. Cholkin loy truma beis hagranis. We give him his own portion of truma in the granary. Why is it dependent on gadlus? Rashi says because if he's younger than that, it's a bezoyin to give him his own portion. And Rashi points out that you could actually send him truma privately. At a public view, you could send him some truma to the house if you know that he's going to be careful with the tahara of that truma. But to give him a portion publicly out by the Beis HaKronis, that's not covered for truma. To give him a portion outright, a portion to a katan, who not everybody knows is a responsible katan and will take care of that truma. So unless he's already old enough and established as an adult, you don't give him his own personal portion. Hayadei alishchit. The katan is a skilled shaychet, even though perhaps he's not proficient with the halachas. So you can eat something that he shechts. Amar Rav Huna. That's provided an adult is standing nearby to make sure that he actually does it properly. Says Rashi on top. He has the skills to maneuver his hands properly to be sheichet. Even though he's not a baki in the chashchita, he knows the basics, but not more than that. But since he has a steady hand, that's okay. Mutal echel mishchet tasei. K'da amar Rav Huna v'hu shegadol omen al gabav. V'ra shalei shahav v'lei daras. We have a gadol standing there mashgiach to ensure things went smoothly. Now Tosfos points out, well, if you have a gadol standing there, what do you need the katan to be a yedei lishchet? He says, well, that's fundamental. You have to have a skilled hand, a steady hand. Because even if the gadol is standing there and watching, the katan, all you need is one quiver, one shake, and there goes the behemoth. So the katan has to have that ability, he has to have the personal skill. And then on top of that, you have a gadol making sure that halachically everything is sound. That combination works. Continues the brisa. Yochel le'echel kazayis dagan. Once a child is old enough to ingest a kazayis of dagan, one of the 5 grains, then it's an indication of a developed digestive system, in which case we say, nu halacha applies. Marchikin mitzay asay, umimemi raglav arba amis. One wishes to engage in tefillah or Torah, krishma, you have to distance yourself from his waist 4 amas away, because once his system is developed enough, the enzymes are there, etc., it creates waste which is considered halachically as waste, from which you have to distance yourself. Rashi says, it's masriach, it exudes an unpleasant odor, and it has that halach. His system has to be developed enough that he has to have the ability to eat a kazayis of dagan, not throughout the entire day. You have to give him a very specific time frame. Pras is a half of that 2 meals worth loaf that we use in Maseches Erevin. So half of that loaf is a meal's worth of bread. And as long as it takes the average person to have a meal, 4 minutes, 9 minutes, many shitas, but that's called achilas pras. And as soon as the child has the ability to eat kazayis within that time frame, within the time frame of a suda, that's considered a proper achila. That's indicative of a healthy digestive system. Everything is getting and going and developing. So this halach of tzoya applies to him. Amar Rav Chia b'reider Rav Yema, he had another point. Ubegadol. Once a child grows up a bit, he's no longer a toddler, he's already 6 or 7. Then, even if he doesn't have this ability to eat a kazayis within achilas pras, his waist has a din of tzoya. Why? The pasuk says, "V'yosef das, Yosef machiv." More wisdom brings along more pain, meaning the intellectual development of this child brings along with it physical development as well. It parallels each other, and since he's more developed intellectually, it's indicative of a properly functioning digestive system, in which case we say, regardless, you have to be marchik from his tzoya and memi raglayim. Concludes the brisa with one more halacha. Yochel lecha kazayis sleep. If you see that this child has the ability to eat a kazayis of roasted meat, Tosfos says it's actually past, it's older than a kazayis of cooked meat, which is easier to eat. So once the child has the ability to eat that, a kazayis of roasted meat, then you can count him in to the Korban Pesach group. Sheich Denol Pesach, he can be included in the Chabura of the Korban Pesach. Shnamar, Ishlefi Achle, which indicates that the member of that Chabura has to have the ability to have achila. And this katan conforms. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, that's not enough. Ad sheyochel levar achila. He has to be a bit older. He has to have the ability to be mevar, to discern what's edible and what's not. Ketzat, for instance, when you give the child a pebble, he'll say, "Oh, this is not edible. I'll toss it away." And egoiz, and not, he takes it because he realizes that it's edible. Apparently, Rabbi is speaking about a child who's a bit older than the previous description. Not only does he have the ability to eat, but he discerns, he can identify easily. That's considered an oichel, or ishal fi achla, can be included in the Korban Pesach. So in conclusion, we have a whole long list of mitzvahs and obligations and halachas which apply to ketanim at their various stages. And the formula here is that it's all ability related, and each mitzvah and each inyan has to be evaluated on its own. And once a child reaches that point, has the ability to relate to that concept, he's included as well. Hadran lach lulav hagos. Continues the Mishnah. Lulav arava shisha v'shiva. Let's go to Rashi. Perhaps we should keep one eye on the Mishnah, one eye on Rashi, and make it easier just to go back and forth. Lots of Rashis on this Mishnah, who explains the seemingly cryptic wording that we have in the beginning of the Mishnah here. So let's start with the first Rashi, about halfway down the Lulav arava. Says Rashi, Sheheim b'migdash kol shiva. We know that in the Beis HaMikdash we take the lulav throughout all 7 days. Likewise, when it comes to the arava, what does arava mean? Says Rashi, lulav l'natila, you take the lulav. V'arava, that was yud lahakev mizbeach. They would take hold of the aravis and walk around the mizbeach until they come on a pirkin, as will be elaborated on further in the parak. So these two mitzvahs, lulav and arava, took place shisha v'shiva. What does that mean? Pa'amim shadaychen Shabbos. At times, depends on the calendar, depends on the year. At times, these mitzvahs are doicha Shabbos, meaning they can be done on Shabbos as well. If that's the case, v'hen kol shiva, they'll be done throughout 7 days. Sometimes they're not doicha Shabbos, in which case you deduct the Shabbos, and you're left with only 6 days. V'havalu shisha yamim, in which case the lulav will only be taken, the rubber will only be used for 6 days. It'll come in Farish Ozli. The Mishnah will explain this further. So let's go back to the Mishnah. Lulav arava shisha v'shiva. The mitzvahs lulav and arava at times are fulfilled throughout 6 days of Sukkot, at times throughout the entire 7-day period. Ha'halal v'asimcha shmoin. What does this mean? Let's go back to Rashi. Ha'halal ligmar kol shmoin. To say the full halal, that would happen throughout all the 8 days, including Shmini Atzeres. Kain tiknu neviim arishaim, as established by the earlier neviim. Ube'erechem mefarish, the more erechem asks a kasha, ma'ishno Pesach. Why is it that Sukkot is different than Pesach? Why is it that only on Sukkot do we say the complete entire halal throughout all the days? The answer is because on Sukkot every day you bring a different number of karbanis. Each day is separate and independent, and therefore it deserves a special halal. Continues Rashi, the halal is 8 days, and likewise simcha, v'simcha. What does that mean? To be happy on Yom Tov. Lechol basar shlamim, which is expressed by eating basar shlamim. The kaim lam psachim, as we learned in the Gemara there, b'zman shebeis hamikdash kaim, ein simcha basar. During the Zman HaMikdash, simcha was primarily fulfilled by eating basar of shlamim, shenemar v'zavachta shlamim v'chalta sham v'samachta. V'afagav the high krol aver golem ksiv. Although that pasuk happens not to be speaking about Yom Tovim, the high krol b'har krizim b'har evil ksivu. Miu, says Rashi, ber golem simcha ksiv bu v'samachta v'chagecha. We find v'samachta v'chagecha by Yom Tovim, and we learn that the definition of simcha is similar to the simcha described in the other pasuk, v'zavachta shlamim v'chalta sham, to indicate that the primary fulfillment of simcha is by way of eating a shlamim. Now, of course, bisman hazeh, things are perhaps a bit different. The Gemara in Arib Psachim actually says that there are other ways to mekayim simcha. The Gemara in Il Dvarim Psachim also speaks about using, wearing a ksus nakiya, clean clothing, yain yashan, children with knots and nash. So there's a whole shaila today, nowadays, whether or not you're mekayim the mitzvah of simcha by eating other items and engaging in other activities other than karbanis, the Avnei Nezer, other poskim hold yes. The answer is yes, because it's all relative to the availability. Whatever we can do to generate simcha is a key mitzvah of simcha. Says the Mishnah again, halal v'simcha shmoina, recital of halal, and the mitzvah of being a simcha applies throughout all 8 days of Yom Tov, including the last day Shmini Atzeres. Continues the Mishnah, sukkah, sitting in the sukkah, v'nisach hamayim, pouring the water during the Korban Tamid every morning on Sukkot, Shiva took place throughout 7 days of Sukkot. Ha'chalal, chamisha v'shisha. Chalal is playing the flute to generate simcha for the simcha space of She'eva ceremony. That would take place either 5 or 6 days throughout Sukkot. How's that? It says Rashi. Sukkah leisha b'sukkah, nisach hamayim, between the achad, shachris, v'lo yarvis, k'taminim sechas yom perek shein, that took place in the morning. So that was consistent throughout all 7 days of Sukkot. However, Chalil, what is that? Simchas Beis HaShe'eva. They would engage in simcha activities to celebrate the drawing of the water in honor of Nisach HaMayim on the Mizbeach. They would blow flutes, play harps. Now this instrumental playing would not be doiche Yom Tov. Only in Chol Hamoed. That's how you get to such small numbers, 5 or 6, because you can't do it on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So you have to deduct for both. Sometimes it ends up being only 5. You're going to deduct 1 for Shabbos and 1 for Yom Tov, right? For instance, if Yom Tov, Rishon of Sukkot, does not fall out on Shabbos, so in that case you have to deduct for Shabbos, and also when Yom Tov comes around, you can't play then either. So you have only 5 out of 7. The given loidacha Yom Tov v'kolshkin Shabbos. Shebechodesh Hamoed, since you can't play these instruments on Yom Tov nor on Shabbos Chol Hamoed, pashlo chamisha, you're left with only 5. Upam mishu shisha, sometimes you can have 6. How? Kigoin shechal Yom Tov Rishon b'Shabbos. If Yom Tov Rishon of Sukkot falls out together with Shabbos, okay, so you deduct 1 day for both. The pashlo shisha, so you have 6 shel chol remaining, shel chol hamoed. There's man migdash ain't ois Yom Tov Sheni. Of course, during the man migdash, there's no Yom Tov Sheni. So you couldn't play on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So if they fell out separately, you have to deduct 2 days of the 7. You're left with 5. If Shabbos and Yom Tov happen to be synonymous, then you deduct 1 for both. You're left with 6. Continues the Mishnah. Lulav Shiva Ketzad. So we began by discussing the Lulav and the Arava, which sometimes are fulfilled throughout the 6 days and sometimes for 7 days. How is that? How do you get 7 days of Lulav? Says the Mishnah, it's only going to happen if the first day of Yom Tov, which is the main day, the main mitzvah, as the Gemara later will explain, from Gimel Be'ez Hashem. So since that's the primary fulfillment of Mitzvah Lulav is the first day, if that falls out on Shabbos, Chacham allowed them to take the Lulav on Shabbos. This is, of course, in the time of the Mikdash, but not Bisman Hazeh. So if that's the case, if the first day of Lulav falls out on Shabbos, you're going to end up taking Lulav for 7 days. Right? Not going to miss a day. But if the first day of Lulav does not fall out on Shabbos, falls out on a Wednesday, then when Shabbos comes around, you have to stop taking Lulav. You have to deduct 1 day. So you end up with only 6. Okay? Lulav Shiva Ketzad. How do you have 7 days of Lulav? Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag Shecholis b'Shabbos. If the first day of Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, then you have Lulav Shiva. U'Shakal Yom, but if the first day of Sukkot falls out on a different day, on a weekday, in which case, when Shabbos Chol Hamoed comes around, you have to refrain from Lulav on that day. You have to deduct 1 day. You only have Shisha. Arava Shiva Ketzad. We spoke about Arava being taken for 7 days. Rashi says Arava lahakiv ha-mizbeach. In the Mikdash they would do that. Sometimes for 7 days, sometimes for 6. How does that work? So here, it's a bit different. It's the same, but a little different. The main Arava taking was on the 7th day. Okay? As we're going to see in the Gemara. So here, if the 7th day is Shabbos, you would take it even on Shabbos. In which case you have Arava throughout all 7 days. But if 7th day of Arava falls out during an ordinary weekday, in which case Shabbos is in the middle of that 7-day set, you have to refrain on Shabbos. So you have to deduct 1, you end up with 6. Arava Shiva Ketzad. How do you have 7 days of Arava? Yom HaShvi Shel Arava Shecholis b'Shabbos. If the 7th day of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos, since the 7th day is the most special when it comes to Arava, we allow you to do it even on Shabbos. Arava Shiva, so you'll have 7 days of Arava. Uninterrupted Arava taking all throughout Sukkot. Shakal Yom Shisha. But if the 7th day of Arava falls out on a different day, not on Shabbos, so you only have 6 days because you're going to have to deduct for Shabbos. Unless the 7th day falls out on Shabbos, you're not meant to take a Rav on Shabbos. So you're left with 6. Says the Mishnah, Mitzvahs Lulav Ketzad b'Shabbos. How did it work out that they would... let's have a description of taking that Lulav on the first day of Sukkot, which happens to be on Shabbos. So we're describing the Yidden in Yerushalayim who wanted to go to the Beis HaMikdash to shake the lulav. So what do? Yerushalayim had no Erev, they couldn't carry on Shabbos. So what do? They prepared in advance. Yom Tov Rishon Shechag Shalois B'Shabbat. The first day of Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos. Moilichen es lulavein l'Harabais. In advance of Shabbos, they would deliver their lulav to the Harabais. V'chazon and the attendants, Mekabel men, would accept the lulavim. V'soidron oisen al gabi itzva. They would set it up on these benches, on these platforms, which were on the Harabais. They were covered, shielded from the sun. They would leave them there until the next day. V'azakenim, with the elders who were concerned about being caught up in the throngs and the crowds the next day, they would be granted special privileges. They would place their lulavim in a special chamber for safekeeping, which they can access safely and easily tomorrow. Continues the Mishnah, the attendants would teach the crowd the following. They would teach them a halacha. Tell them, loymar, they would instruct them to make this declaration. Everybody must say, kol mishamagia lulavi liyadeh. Whoever gets hold of my lulav, it had no name tags. They wouldn't know whose lulav it is. It was a communal lulav collection there, and next day everybody's going to come, just take any lulav. So this way, in advance, they would have to declare and say, look, whoever gets my lulav, hareyu loiv maton, I'm giving it to him as a gift, it's his. Otherwise, he's not going to be yotze, it has to be lochem. L'macha, the next day, on Shabbos, ma'ashkim in everybody would get up and come. V'chazon and zorkin oisem lefneim. And the chazana would take the lulav and toss it to the crowds. Everybody was grabbing, or making and push each other and shove. It was a tumultuous scene. When Bezdin saw that it's going to lead to danger, they abolished this practice. They decided, you know what, no more lulav in the Harabayas. They decided, everybody shake at home where you were safe and sound. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein has an interesting observation. He says, why did they have to come to the Harabayas to shake their lulav? What's the point? The mitzvah of taking lulav applies even outside the Beis HaMikdash. We're speaking on the first day of Sukkot, where there's a mitzvah to take your lulav in the Beis HaMikdash and out of the Beis HaMikdash. So was there any benefit in coming to the Beis HaMikdash to take your lulav? Says Rav Moshe, yes. You see, although it would seem that on the first day in the Beis HaMikdash and out of the Beis HaMikdash is the same mitzvah. Pasuk says, wherever you are. It's true that in the Beis HaMikdash they would take throughout all 7 days. But perhaps on the first day, it's the same mitzvah, whether in or out of the Beis HaMikdash. Says Rav Moshe, no. It's not so. It seems like it's the same mitzvah, but really it's different. There's an additional enhancement. There's a mala. And taking your lulav in the Beis HaMikdash itself, you're fulfilling that extra concept of a smachtam of Fnei Hashem l'keichem, which is on top of mitzvah's lulav. There's also another point that the mitzvah's lulav in the Mikdash was a 7-day mitzvah. It was a much greater mitzvah. So even on the first of that 7 days, it's part of the 7-day mitzvah, which is a higher level mitzvah than the single mitzvah, the single-day mitzvah, which applied outside the Mikdash. So for these reasons, the Bnei Yisrael wanted to be mahadar and have the lulav taken in the Mikdash itself, where they could be mekayim the higher level mitzvah. And that worked out until it got too dangerous. Perhaps everybody was vying for their lulav. Look, I spent a whole month choosing this lulav. I want to try to get a hold of my lulav, and created commotion and sakana. Continues the Gemara. So we speak about the lulav being taken on the first day, even if it falls out on Shabbos. But otherwise, meaning if it's Shabbos in the middle of Yom Tov, you don't take your lulav then. Amai, what's the problem? Tiltu ba'almu. What could be wrong with taking a lulav? It's just a branch. At worst case, it would be muktzah, but there's no muktzah here, because it's a mitzvah min ha-Torah. Chacham would not apply muktzah to negate the mitzvah HaTorah, to mevatel a mitzvah. So what's the problem? V'litchi Shabbos. If it's only tilted ba'amu, v'litchi Shabbos. Why can't you take a lulav every day of Sukkot, even if it happens to be Shabbos? Omar Rabba, says Rabbi, you know why? Gzeru Hashem yitlenu b'yodei is a concern that it might lead to malacha. He might take the lulav on Shabbos, v'yelech etzel baki, and head over to the expert, to the Rav, to learn how to make a bracha, how to shake it. He might actually carry it 4 amas through the street and do a malacha. Oh, this is a very real concern. We spoke before about being anxious and excited about the mitzvah. It might lead him to do that. And therefore, Chacham said, unless this is the first day, any other day, you don't take your lulav on Shabbos. Concludes the Gemara. He meant to know, V'hainu tamid ha-shofar, V'hainu tamid ha-megillah. This is the same reason why when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, we don't blow. When Purim falls out on Shabbos, we don't read the Megillah. Why? Because due to his excitement, he might actually take that shofar or Megillah and run to the expert to learn his skills, to learn how to blow, to learn how to read the Megillah, and do a malacha of carrying through the street. And the Chacham have that ability to be mevatel a mitzvah min HaTorah as long as it's a passive bittul, b'sheva al tasa. Refrain, don't blow, don't read, don't shake, due to a concern that might lead to a malacha. So therefore, on Shabbos we don't shake a lulav, except if it's the first day of Yom Tov, which is different, as the Gemara will elaborate on further, Be'ezus Hashem, in the upcoming daf. Okay, so in conclusion, Rabbi Yossi says, if one does a malacha due to his overexcitement, due to a tirdas ha-mitzvah, Torah b'dvar mitzvah is pata. We have 3 examples. Carrying the lulav through the street, Torah b'dvar mitzvah, which ended up resulting in a mitzvah being done, he's pata from chatas. He wanted to eat a carbon, ate the wrong one. He used Torah b'dvar mitzvah, even if he didn't actually do a mitzvah. He ate the wrong carbon. He's pata. However, if he was just negligent, he took the wrong animal, that's not called Torah b'dvar mitzvah. If he does a shechita on Shabbos, he's responsible. He has to bring a chatas. The Mishnah spoke about the Isha handling the lulav on Shabbos, no concern of mitzvah, of muktzah. Returning that lulav to water, no concern there either. And the chiyuv chinuch for a katan with respect to lulav depends on his ability to be manayinei that lulav. The chiyuv, the mitzvah of lulav in the Beis HaMikdash was a 7-day mitzvah. Outside the Mikdash, it only applies the first day. Min HaTorah, of course. Midrabanan, we spoke the other day about takanos Rabbi Yehuda and Zakai, to make a zeichel a Mikdash and shake throughout these 7 days, as we do today. And the only day that is zeichel Shabbos is the first day. Kol tov to you and atzlacha Rabbah.